Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Tom. How's it going?
Tony, just enjoying the last few minutes before we just all become professional snow shovelers here in lovely central Ohio, because it's chilly outside, Tony, and snow's a-coming.
Yeah, and I'm trying to decide to try and keep up with it or just let it happen. It's always, it's always a debate about that and whether it's just like, you know what, it's going to do what it's going to do, and I'll deal with it in the morning. And I love dealing with stuff in the morning, though. I love it.
I did see a fun graphic that there was the biggest one-day snow in Columbus history, measured snow, was in March of 2008, which I could have told you. I could not have told you the exact amount. I think it was about 15 inches. But I could tell you the exact month that happened because, Tony, we had purchased a new home, but not yet moved into it. So we were still in an old home in Columbus, but also had a new home. So I got to shovel 2 driveways during the biggest snow event, one-day snow event in the history of Columbus, Ohio, because, Tony, life is all about timing.
It is. It is very much about timing. Tom, I'll give you another one. I know somebody that got in an auto accident on New Year's Eve and got injured. And so, the deductible for that year and the next year all had to be paid out before they could, So it is all about timing. That's why I never leave the home after like the 26th. I stay home. I'm not risking it. But, anyway, that's neither here nor there. We are here talking about a listener question, actually 2 of them that are very related. And, we put out a call a week or so ago, and we're going through these a little bit here and there. And so this one is about the Ohio State offensive line, specifically the right side of the offensive line. And so I'll give you these 2 questions. This first one from @SPathfinder. Seems like we didn't do much to strengthen the right side of the offensive line in the portal. Why? And then this one from @OSU Bucks fan 09. Based on his performance in the Cotton Bowl, does Ohio State still have Phillip Daniels higher than Ian Moore for a tackle spot? Also, is lack of bringing in a tackle due to swinging and missing or not taking the at-bat? So we're going to talk through these 2 things. First, Tom, in terms of the portal, this to me feels a lot like last year with the defensive tackles, where they liked what they had in the house rather than what was out there. And when you look out there and you see what's out there, and you got Jordan Seaton entered the fray very late, and yet that's never really anybody that you would expect to end up at Ohio State. Really, I mean, there were names early on like Lance Hurd from Tennessee. I mean, he ended up at Kentucky, so do with that what you will. But it just didn't feel like there was anybody out there that, there's no Jonah Jackson, as we've said before.
Yeah, there's not a clear upgrade that was not also a clear upgrade for probably 70 to 120 other teams in the nation. And at this point, this is kind of, you're doing your household budget and you have the money you have. And could you go out and buy a boat? You could. Would that be fun? Well, there's 2 good days when you're a boat owner, if you are familiar with the old saying, but you have to do the other stuff too. And the price of going out and getting a Jordan Seaton is you probably lose 1 or more of your good young offensive linemen, and you probably also don't have the money to bring in whatever a defensive tackle, something like that, or you don't have the money to bring in the safeties they brought in. The money can only be spent once, and you kind of have to prioritize things. And Ohio State came out of the season feeling like they had a reasonable offensive line, that you're bringing back virtually everyone other than Tager Shabola. And there wasn't an obvious upgrade that was not going to, cause them to significantly miss out on, either losing players from the current roster or not being able to bring in players from other rosters. It is purely a math problem. And when you're going through the available offensive lineman list, pretty quickly you get to, I mean, maybe that guy would be a little bit of an upgrade, maybe. But again, that guy's an upgrade for a bunch of teams. So Kentucky, Lance Hurd, to use that example, because that was someone we had done a show on at one point and kind of went, yeah, I mean, maybe it might be an interesting addition. Kentucky is kind of really splashing the pot now in the first year with Will Stein, their new head coach, the former Oregon offensive coordinator. They've brought in a bunch of pretty big names, which you don't need to read too far between the lines to see that they are spending a good bit of money to do that. And Lance Hurd is a much bigger addition or much bigger upgrade for Kentucky than he would be for Ohio State. And so if you can use your internal guys who, those guys, who they are, how they are, where they need to continue developing, all that kind of stuff, how much they've progressed over the course of the last year. If you feel like those guys are solid enough, then keeping it in-house and then spending your resources in other spots where you don't have guys who you feel like are maybe an easy answer in-house, that's kind of the responsible way to go about doing it.
Yeah, and when you look at the transfer portal rankings of tackles, Jordan Seaton's at the top, and we've talked before, second team All Big 12. Well, Ohio State's left tackle is second team All Big 10. So, if Austin Seerveld is in the portal, he's probably 1 or 2 in terms of the rankings. So you kept him. That's a good thing. The number 2 guy on three's rankings, Jacarius Peak, he's honorable mention All ACC. Ohio State has 5 guys on their offensive line all reach at least third team All Big 10. Lance Hurd, I think, is a third team All SEC. Melvin Siani, who is the 4th guy on 3, not even among the all honorable mentions of the ACCs from Wake Forest going to Texas. I wonder what the outrage would be if Ohio State signed somebody from, say, Wake Forest that's not even honorable mention to play on their offensive line and presumably to start. Although there is the one hand where anybody you bring in the portal is automatically better than the people that you have. But we found out last year that is absolutely not the case. Ethan Onianwa, you thought he's going to be your left tackle. Couldn't even contribute, couldn't even rotate in at right guard after all of the dust had settled. So, why didn't they go after somebody? You're checking the phones. You're seeing what the prices are, but I think what we will see, Ohio State, we've said it before. I think they know, or they believe they've got enough of what they have. They've got enough to field a good right side of the offensive line. I'm fascinated to see what it looks like on day 1 of spring practice, and I wonder if that's what it's going to look like on day 5 of spring practice, because I do believe the best 5 has Ian Moore there, and I believe his best position is tackle. Now, we have not seen Phillip Daniels at guard. I have no idea how he can do there, but if this is just me playing a video game, I'm putting Phillip Daniels at right guard, Ian Moore at right tackle, and leaving Austin Seerveld alone. Because the thing is, Phillip Daniels got a year at starting all year long. He's going to be better in 2026, even better at right tackle than he was this past year. You wanted to improve the position? That guy another year at that position presumably would do that. But, I'm also saying, I think Ian Moore might be better.
Yeah, Ian Moore might be better. And you also have, Phillip Daniels is going to be better because he's got another year. Austin Seerveld's going to be better because he's got another year. Luke Montgomery's going to be better because he has another year. Carson Hintzman going to be better because he has another year. You've also got Gabe Van Sickle. You've also got Josh Padilla. I mean, you've got all these guys have another year. You can bring back all this continuity. And you had an offensive line that at the end of the year, absolutely did not give them what they needed to in the last couple of games of the season. 100% agree. Totally understood. Everyone's on the same page there. But if you can bring back the whole same offensive line that was a young and relatively inexperienced offensive line and bring these guys back and presumably have another year of growth and development. And, Indiana last year was all these veteran guys, and look at, in Miami, look at how this veteran offensive line, and that's what you want. You want the veteran offensive line. We talked about this with Michigan during the Michigan Monday shows we did last year. Michigan is playing 3 redshirt freshmen on the offensive line. Did it look great? No, it sure didn't at a bunch of times, but They're bringing all those guys back. So Michigan's offensive line should be substantially better this year because you're playing young, inexperienced guys who are going to be another year older, another year more experienced, another year stronger next year. They're going to be a lot better. The same thing applies to Ohio State. And Ohio State certainly was ahead of where Michigan was on the offensive line last year. So Ohio State should presumably take another year, another step forward and be one of the, I'm expecting Ohio State to be one of the best offensive lines in the Big Ten next year. And that's what they need. And if you can do that without having to sink a ton of money into a huge signing in the portal, that allows you to keep Jeremiah Smith, keep Julian Sayin, keep, all these other guys and bring in the guys they've brought in. I understand the angst. I absolutely get it. I don't think anyone thinks, well, the offensive line was good enough last year, but I think there are very clear reasons to think the offensive line is going to be substantially better in 26.
And the biggest issue that people had was Tegra Shabola. Mm-hmm. He's gone. So, you move around the parts that you have and fill that spot that he left. And, I'm not saying this is addition by subtraction, but everybody wanted him to be replaced. He has now been replaced. Maybe that makes an improvement there. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how that tackle spot opens up and how it manifests. And is Phillip Daniels willing to move inside, or is Ian Moore? Does he do the Paris Johnson thing? Albeit a little bit delayed, where you start your career at guard, then finish it at tackle. We'll see, and plenty of time to talk about all of those things. Spring ball just about 6 weeks away, 5 weeks away, thereabouts. Like, we're not that far away, and so there you go. That's just trying to talk through on the right side of the offensive line why they did stuff the way they did. Is it right? We will find out, and fate will be the ultimate arbiter of whether or not they were correct or they were dead wrong. So there you go. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. 5-star rating and review on the audio side is always appreciated as well. That will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.